Hello everyone, so I wanted to have a video that is a little different from what I typically do. I don't typically do any discussion videos really. And I wanted to discuss about the update to For Honor. Now, as you can see right here, this is the new update. We got the new hero, Warmonger. It's quite the badass way to introduce the hero on the main menu screen. I really like that. Obviously, there's a lot of discussion revolving around her feats, how they're pretty busted, and they kind of break the game a little bit. And obviously, there's discussion revolving around the core combat update changes and the changes to the core combat update changes. Now, what I wanted to talk about specifically first was, as you can see, I put a lot of time into this game. I put 24 days, 13 hours. Got a pretty good win-loss ratio and kill-death ratio, as you can see as well. Ultimately, I feel like the game's biggest issue really comes down to the fact that the developers aren't taking advantage of the core combat or the testing ground changes. They did a lot of changes to the core combat update from the testing ground phase, and they didn't give people time to check it out themselves and test it out themselves. And that's the same thing with Warmonger. Warmonger, who is a very strong hero, mostly because of her feats, and they didn't give people the time to test her out on the testing grounds. Why just release the character only on release day? Why not just allow people to access her on the testing ground phases so that way you guys can find out whether or not the character is too weak, too strong, feats are too busted. You know, allow them access to them on the Dominion phase so that way people can really, sink their teeth into this content and find out if the character is actually busted or not, and that'll help with the development team to decide whether or not to change certain things. Personally, I feel like the development team is not doing a very good job of communicating properly. Not communicating, but communicating properly, because they tell us what their goals are and they tell us what they want, and these are all great, but they don't give us the tools as the players to give them meaningful feedback. The testing ground phases on the events playlist was a great first couple steps, but they're not really utilizing it enough in this game. As a matter of fact, I don't think that the events playlist should ever be empty. I think that it should always be open with the testing ground phase in it all the time, unless there's an actual event mode that's supposed to take the place. So the developers really should take advantage of this. Keep the testing ground phases accessible all the time on the game. That way you guys can collect more data, more information, the players can give you more feedback about certain things, especially because as we play the game more and more, especially certain heroes on certain changes, we may discover certain things that we didn't figure out before. The game isn't as deep as a traditional fighting game where you got, constant experimentation always accessible, but this game does have elements where people didn't realize certain hidden characters had hidden potentials. That happens sometimes. It's just the way it is. But the developers aren't really giving us the tools to actually communicate with them properly as well. So I really think that Warmonger and these changes to the core combat update changes could have been put into another phase of testing grounds. I know that they felt confident that these things were unnecessary, but they were very wrong. They were very wrong because overall, there's a lot of division about the game right now. Most people feel like it is moving in the right direction, but it's still not enough, or some things they had done poorly and were implemented poorly. So seriously, developers, I really doubt you will ever see this video. But if anything, I would say that more people should be talking about testing grounds all the time. It should be in the game mandatory. Like, I really find it hard to believe that anyone would criticize the development team for having the testing grounds accessible at any given time. Like, the testing grounds is one of the best things that they implemented in the game, but they don't really utilize it. So yeah, I wanted to have a discussion around that. Please leave a comment below about how you guys feel about the testing grounds. Should Ubisoft use testing grounds more frequently to test out stuff such as new heroes, new update changes more frequently? I know that they could do a lot of hot fixes for the game, but I personally think that they should use the testing grounds more frequently. How do you guys feel about it? Leave a comment below, and thank you all for watching this. Till then, see you later.